live 5 years longer. So to my eyes, that's like a 10-year swing.
Yeah, and that was a real hidden gem, actually, in that part of your story, as you tied it back to your friend. Because again, we'll talk about obesity, we'll talk about how activity does help the brain in studying in school. That student athletes do better than if they were just students.
Yeah.
But that statistic right there, I had not come across that one before, and that's pretty sobering.
Yeah, and I remember I was at a conference. John Sullivan referred me to it. Brendan Bouchard has this conference called Experts Academy, and I went there, and it helps you kind of, tweak your message. And I was interacting with tons of people, but every time I shared that story, particularly with women who were mothers and said that their kids potentially would die 5 years sooner, they just started weeping. They were like, there's no way. And everybody was applauding me for taking on this monster. And I'm like, it is a monster. It really is. And I know that I'm rolling a boulder. We joked about it a few years ago. We're rolling it up Mount Everest. But slowly but surely, we're starting to see it turn. Unfortunately, because both my kids have aged out of the sports system, I won't be able to impact it for them. But my goal is to impact it for their kids. That's my long-term goal.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we're talking about here. And this is my thing that I've moved towards is I picked it up for definitely some leadership courses and training that I've been through. But we all leave a legacy, whether you like it or not. You do.
Yep.
And this is one of them, which is what sports has done for me. I just went through hopefully, I think my dad is listening tonight, but we went through a lot of recordings about his life. He's been playing sports forever, and there's a legacy, that he's left for me, and that my kids and my nephews. I've got 4 girls. My sister has 3 boys. I don't know how many seasons collectively those 7 have done, and how many sports. There's probably, I want to say it's got to be at least 6 or 7 sports. And not just because, the 2 different genders, but they have played, each of them, they've all played, 2 to 4 different sports. And that was, part of it, which is, you go out and it's a good thing to work at. It does so much for you. But I want to turn the conversation towards what you are doing at Paradigm Sports. You have a lot of workshops and webinars, and they are broken down for coaches. They're broken down for parents. And again, I really recommend people go to www.paradigmsports.ca. And here's a few topics I wanted to get into. You talk about make it fun and make it safe. What is it that you're preaching? Not preaching. What are you teaching or promoting? And what are some of the ways that you're making that stick? And that's the key here. Is we can say there's all kinds of good stuff. We don't have to leave our phones to go find the right words on Twitter and Facebook. But it's how do you actually drive it home to make a change with people with the fun and the safe.
Well, I think the way we've kind of gone about it, and I'm fortunate. 5 years ago, it was just me, myself, and I that was kind of taking on this monster. Now I've got a lot of people behind me that are all coming to the table because they all believe in the same cause. What we're doing a little differently with the live workshop is something that I've been doing for years with my Hockey Canada hat, interacting with coaches. And this is just kind of like a natural extension of it, where we have an opportunity to integrate with coaches. So let's use the make it safe as a topic for a workshop. And the reason I created that module was due in part to a lot of the issues that are happening in the sport today in terms of harassment. And that's where I kind of ended up connecting with Jen Fraser to teaching bullies. But the top 5, bullying is one that's been around since the beginning of time. And it still continues. And if anything, I think it's getting worse. But the one that has evolved over the last 5 to 10 years that has really become problematic, which is relatively new, is cyberbullying. And I came across that the first time with a Pee-wee team, 11, 12-year-old kids that were involved in a Facebook group page, but they didn't include all the players on the team. And then we got wind of what they were sharing on this Facebook page, and this is like 5, 6 years ago. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You can't be saying this about this player and this player. And, I've cautioned a lot of coaches, if you're going to use those platforms, whether it be a Facebook page or Twitter or any other social media, you have to be really careful to make sure that you're in control of those platforms and you can see everything that's happening. I recently wrote a blog about an updated version of Make It Safe, and over the World Juniors this past winter, it starts on Boxing Day, which is December 26th for us in Canada, runs till about the first week of January. Canada wins gold this year, so we're pretty happy about that. But during those World Juniors, almost every one of them, probably the main commercial was one that was sponsored by TELUS. And Jordan Eberle, who plays now he got traded. I always think of him as the Edmonton player, but he was talking about cyberbullying. And it was a statistic that I actually had to do some research on it. But they said over almost half of kids have been cyberbullied in the prior month. And I was like, what? Like half? Like what? So I did the research, and there's a few studies that are saying that it's pretty problematic. And the irony is, it's not just the kids being cyberbullied, but even those kids that have been bullied cyber are doing the same to other kids. So it's like this whole domino effect. And, that's exploding. Then you've got the sexual harassment with the whole Me Too movement that has evolved in the last few months. God forbid the sexual abuse issues. Like I thought what happened with Sheldon Kennedy and Theo Fleury years ago, that would have nipped that in the bud. That would have been the end of it. But then in last, USA Gymnastics, Canadian skiing, there's a huge scandal that's coming to light that I wasn't even aware about. UK football, professional football in Europe, and other sports, and that's exploding. I think the number was something about 300 athletes had been abused by various coaches. Has been over the USA swimming, and these are just things that have kind of like in the last year, 2 years, 3 years. And then, God forbid, the one that I had to deal with on a personal front, hazing. I can't believe that it's trickling down into youth sports when, for the most part, it's been something that's been kind of at the collegiate level, more so at the fraternity level, excessive alcoholism and all that kind of stuff. But because it's at that level, it's starting to come down to younger and younger age groups. And the main reason why we end up creating the module is when I was dealing with all these various forms of harassment, when it comes to fruition with a sports team, it's amazing that people will know about it. Like they'll know kind of what hazing is. They'll kind of know what bullying is, cyberbullying, but they're not really educated. And they kind of try to claim that ignorance is bliss. And then the sports organizations also kind of go, that wasn't really this and that wasn't really that. And that's where it kind of gets swept under the rug. And then they can condone it. And you think about it, you play first team for one season and then, okay, it's over. But think of the lasting impact on those kids if they were victims of that circumstance. It lasts a lot longer than that one particular season. So that was the whole premise of that module, was to educate not just parents, but coaches, even athletes. What are the various forms? And these are the things that you can't do, because I know that there's a goal to end it completely. I don't think we'll ever completely end the harassment per se, but we definitely have to reduce it and to get to a point where kids are safe when they're playing youth sports. So that's the whole Make It Safe module. Make It Fun is talking about all the different concepts of what fun truly is. I'll never forget an analogy. After my son had that bad year in hockey, and he finished the season with the coach that he had, that there was a whole bunch of issues that followed suit. But following year is kind of when he decided he didn't want to play hockey anymore. And I was just like beside myself. I'm like, what? He used to love it. Like he used to love it. But because of, all the competition, the coaching, and a whole bunch of other issues, said, you know what, I'm just gonna quit, but I'm not gonna quit sports. I want to play high school volleyball. I want to try high school rugby. And that was kind of like a little nudge where he said, hey, would you coach our rugby team? Because we needed a coach. But he goes to play volleyball, and he's in this volleyball team for about 2 weeks. And he comes home one day and he goes, Dad, you're not going to believe it. I said, what? He goes, the coach just told us at practice he's only going to play the top players in games. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. So I'm playing another sport where I don't get to play. And I'm like, what? So I go, this time he's now, like, this is a year later, he's 15. I want him to fight his own battle. I said, well, this is what you need to do. You got to go talk to the coach, just, and have a conversation. Say, hey, this is why you're playing. Well, he made the mistake, and I'll never forget this because he's telling me this in the garage. So, yeah, I guess the timing wasn't great. He told the coach, he approached him, but in front of the entire team. So obviously the coach was offended that he was like being challenged by this 15-year-old kid that, they just wanted to have fun. Everyone they should have an opportunity to play. And of course, the coach took it off the chart, and it was just like, said, well, what did you learn from that lesson? He goes, I guess I should have talked to him separately. I said, yeah, that probably would have been a good idea. But it turns out, because I coached rugby that year, I found out from the athletic director, high school sports, and I don't know if this is national across Canada, but in British Columbia, the only age group that they have a fair play policy, meaning all the kids get an opportunity to play, is in their first year of high school, which is grade 8, so 13. But after that, it's wide open. Coaches can do whatever they want. And I had the misfortune with our senior high school rugby team last year. It was I nicknamed them the Bad News Bears. We had 21 players. Only half of them had ever played rugby before. They were all athletic. We didn't win a game, and I think we only scored 3 tries. But it was abysmal actually watching some of the teams we played against. We thought nothing of excessive celebrations, rubbing salt in the wound, and we were like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. So it didn't matter whether I was coaching at the community sport level, the recreation level, the competitive level in hockey, and now high school sports. I came across it in all of them. And I'm like, this is not the way things are supposed to be. So that whole fun concept was like, let's bring it back to the kids. But, Amanda Visick's great research. She formalized what I actually had done for years. I started asking the question, coaching 7-year-old kids in hockey, why they were playing hockey, because I heard through the grapevine a couple of parents were putting pressure on them to play. And that kind of evolved to a connecting activity. So I asked 3 questions, why are you playing, and what do you think the answer was?
Well, because it's fun.
Yeah, every kid told me that answer. And then I went, okay, what's fun about it? And they gave me all kinds of different answers. Like, it was all over the map. And when they were younger, it was all about the snacks. And they're playing Timbits hockey, so like the donuts and the oranges and the apples. And they like to score, like play goal. I had one kid said, I love to do snow angels. He was 7 years old. He was snow angels, and whatever. Okay, it was fun. And as they got older, the answers became more and more articulate. But my rugby team last year was when it really blew my mind, is when I asked them what wasn't fun, and they probably, of the 21 players, I think 10 of them said when coaches played their favorites, meaning running short benches. And I'm okay, yeah, now I get it. Yeah, I've seen that for 10 years now, and I'm trying to figure out how we change that. And what's the most important thing about sport? And he goes, we just want to have fun. We just want to enjoy it. But the irony is, a lot of people think, and just like my son's volleyball coach thought when he said he just wanted to have fun, is that they wanted to goof off. And that's not what they want. If you ask any kid, is it fun if you've got a player on your team that's just goofing off all the time? Every single kid, doesn't matter what age group, will say, no, we don't want to goof off. We just want to enjoy the experience. Top 5 reasons why it's fun is the number one is when they have an opportunity to try their best, when they get to work on their skills. And I heard that over and over again over the years. Coaches treating them with respect. That's a big one. That's huge. And that's something that's not happening as much as it should. But the third one is when they get playing time. 90% of kids would rather play on a losing team and play in all situations than sit on a bench for a winning team. and it's just reality. And other reasons are, when they get along with their teammates. So stuff like there's no bullying happening, there's no conflict. When they play well as a team, and playing well as a team doesn't mean winning the game.